Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Luke Owen and this is Wrestling News. To paraphrase the late and great Sinead O'Connor, it's been several hours and 530 days. Rest in peace. Since Bray Wyatt was last seen on WWE TV. Wyatt was released from WWE in July of 2022, having not appeared on TV since WrestleMania 37. There was lots of rumors and speculation about his wrestling career and future. He was even developing a movie described as Ichi the Killer meets Xanadu, but instead he returned to WWE in October of last year as part of Triple H's big reset of the company, which saw lots of previously released wrestlers return to the fold. Wyatt was given several weeks of teasing vignettes that caught the imagination of wrestling fans, and his actual return at Extreme Rules was described by our own Oliver Davis as one of the coolest wrestling things he's ever seen. Sadly, the bloom came off the rose early on as fans got impatient with the lack of in-ring action and story progression in his feud with LA Knight, with Wyatt's only match in WWE since coming back being the sponsored Mountain Dew Lights Out match at this year's Royal Rumble, which only went 5 minutes and earned 3/4 of a star in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. He then set up a program with Bobby Lashley to head into WrestleMania after Bobbles beat Brock Lesnar at Elimination Chamber, even bringing back the Muscle Man dance from his Firefly Funhouse days. But then that program was dropped, Bray disappeared from TV, and Bobby instead won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown with no actual WrestleMania match. According to Fightful Select, the creative plans for Wyatt were for him to start a new faction that would have included the also returning Bo Dallas, who was appearing on TV as Uncle Howdy, Alexa Bliss, who was being influenced by Bray in some of her segments, and the returning Eric Young. With Wyatt's health issues keeping him off TV, Bliss going on maternity leave, and Young quitting WWE before he'd even returned because he didn't want to work under Vince McMahon, those plans were all dropped. It was reported that Wyatt was dealing with an injury. Those reports then became that Wyatt was dealing with a health issue that was keeping him from being in the ring. And now we've got even more details about this from Fightful Select, and some of them are quite scary. Sean Ross Sapp reports that the illness that Wyatt was battling with was both career and life-threatening, but thankfully note that he has improved significantly. This is obviously tremendous news from a human perspective, and from a wrestling fan perspective, it's also exciting news, as Fightful Select add that he is now closer to being cleared after nearly 6 months off TV. SRS writes, Wyatt has battled an illness that we won't disclose, and the company and Wyatt have been taking extra precautions to make sure that his long-term health is accounted for. Now, Wyatt isn't cleared for a return yet, but this is the closest we've been to an update since he left our TV screens in February, and you can tell that his return is closer now more than ever, as Fightful Select report that creative ideas are being presented to Bray Wyatt, with some ideas even indicating that a September return could be on the cards if he gets cleared in time. As always, we here at WrestleTalk wish a speedy recovery to Bray Wyatt. But what would you like to see Bray Wyatt do in his WWE return? Let me know in the comments down below. And speaking of wrestling returns, and Ricochet has provided somewhat of an update on his tag team partner Braun Strowman's return to the ring.
Do you, like most people, think that the WrestleTalk news presenters are the most attractive people on planet Earth? Do you, like some other people, think that the WrestleTalk presenters could be the most attractive people on planet Earth if only they could remove all of their facial features? Well, do we have the shirt for you? It's our brand new WrestleTalk News Presenter Faces shirt, complete with no facial features. Head over to WrestleShop.com using the link in the description below to get yours, and become the world's coolest person with the world's coolest people on your shirt.
Strowman's last WWE match was in May when he teamed with Ricochet to beat the then heel Alpha Academy in just over 2 minutes. It was reported that he was dealing with a neck injury that would require surgery. Speaking with 10 Count Media, Ricochet told Steve Fall that he misses his tag partner and he can't wait to get him back, and noted he's recuperating, he's doing fine, I know he's ready to get back. Can only imagine he's ready to get back. I know that's not too much of an update as there's no reported time frame, but we at WrestleTalk just wanted to wish the big man a speedy recovery. On to, let's say, boring matters now, as it's been revealed who will sit on the board of directors for the new TKO company, which will merge UFC and WWE under the same umbrella. No, wait, come back. Honestly, this could be interesting. Look, I know, I get it. The board of directors sounds boring, but it is an interesting part of business, lest we forget that Vince McMahon's return to WWE was denied by the board of directors initially until he replaced that board of directors with a board of directors that would let him come back. It is interesting, I promise. And the TKO board is made up of 5 people from WWE and 6 people from Endeavour. And 4 of those 5 names have now been revealed, with Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, Stephen R. Koonin, and Nancy R. Tellman making up the Fatal 4-Way. McMahon, Khan, and Koonin are already on the WWE board of directors, while Tellman is a brand new choice. Interestingly, 2 of the names that McMahon brought back onto the board to bring him back, Michelle Wilson and George Barrios, are not listed, and neither is Triple H, who also currently sits on the WWE board of directors. If Trips is not named as the 5th person, that would mean he will have lost a huge position of power in this new company. And given how Barrios and Wilson were faithful to Vince in getting him back into WWE so he could retake control and sell it, one would presume that one of them would be placed ahead of his son-in-law. And Sean Ross Sapp has noted via Twitter, Triple H will no longer serve on the board for WWE after the merger. Now, he'll still, one would assume, retain his position as head of creative, but losing this level of power could mean that, well, nothing is for sure these days. See? Told you it would be interesting. And speaking of interesting business things, let's file this one under to keep an eye on. You see, there's been this ongoing antitrust lawsuit filed against UFC over the pay of its fighters. While boxing promoters will pay boxers above 50% of events revenue, UFC only paid its fighters between 2010 and 2017 around 20%. This case has been ongoing since it was first filed in 2014, and it's now been determined by a Nevada judge that it can continue. The case is seeking damages of between $811 million and $1.6 billion. UFC's lawyer William Isaacson called the case legally and factually meritless. Factually meritless, name of your next AEW Dynamite special. But how does all of this tie into the WWE and UFC merger? Well, Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that abuse of your monopoly powers to keep salaries down could be grounds for a similar case to be filed against WWE, especially as they've been posting several record gates and pay-per-view numbers. But that's not our only story about Vince McMahon possibly being angry about something, because our next story is something he was genuinely angry about. Younger viewers might not recall a time when Vince McMahon seemed to think that it was weird that Lana, now known as CJ Perry, was dating Rusev, now going by Miro in AEW. And this was quite clear on TV as Vince kept booking Lana in storylines where she was attracted to other people and wanted to date other people and want to marry other people instead of, her husband Rusev. Most famously in 2019 when Rusev found himself in a soap opera 3-way romance angle with Bobby Lashley, which led to Bobbles marrying Lana on TV. But back in 2015, Rusev was in a different romance storyline as Lana got the hots for Dolph Ziggler while Rusev was partnered with Summer Rae. The story came to an abrupt end, however, with Lana and Summer never getting their match, and there was never a mixed tag, and the singles match between Rusev and Ziggler ended in a lame double countout at SummerSlam 2015. Rusev did propose to Summer Rae, but that was about all she wrote. And the reason the storyline fell apart was because the real-life relationship between Miro and Perry was made public when it was leaked to TMZ. And speaking with Chris Van Vliet, Summer Rae talked about how the storyline was mysteriously leaked to TMZ. Gee, I wonder who might have leaked it, and how it really angered Vince McMahon because he didn't want to drop the storyline as it was one of his favorites at that point of the WWE creative process. Rae found out at a show in her hometown of Chicago that she was no longer booked in that storyline and would instead just be wrestling on Main Event. Rae was told by someone in creative that the story on TMZ killed the angle and reminded her no one is bigger than WWE. That's a big thing for Vince, and John Cena would always talk about that, like no one's bigger than WWE and they don't want you to think that either. Summer also talks about writing the Rusev breakup promo with Jimmy Jacobs and how Miro tried to get several lines of it changed because he didn't like them. So you should check out the whole interview because it's really interesting and because Chris is an awesome guy. Hi Chris, miss you bud, hope we get to chat soon. And speaking of Vinnie Mac, last year's Survivor Series saw the main roster debut of War Games, an old WCW concept that Triple H brought back for NXT but was never put on a major WWE pay-per-view as Vince reportedly never liked the match. Well, this year's SummerSlam has been announced for the 25th of November, but there's no word yet on if this will be another War Games show. This prompted a fan to ask Dave Meltzer on Twitter if it was happening this year or not, to which Dave responded, I don't know, but I do know talent that thinks so. So that's all from me today. We're on the countdown to AEW's All In, so why not check out my 30-minute conversation with Ain't He Great Jeff Jarrett about the show and its expectations, while I get some sage-like advice from British wrestling legend Kendo Nagasaki.
People come up to me and ask just that, hey, just between me and you, what's going on? I'm like, you think I'm going to tell you here at Baggage Claim? But no, it's amazing. You know, just the who's who, the VIP list that's going to be there.